What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith. Welcome back to The Nerdy Narrative. This is a channel I use to share with you about all of the things that I read, and today is no exception. It is Friday. Happy Friday. You have made it to the end of the week. The weekend is almost here. It is in sight. So let's start this morning off talking about some books. I use my weekly reading wrap-ups to share with you about the books that I read, what I am still currently reading, and what I plan to read next. But before we get into talking books, I need you guys to help me with something. I have something that I want to film, but I need to pick a color in order to film it. And I just can't make that decision by myself because I'll just pick purple, and let me clue you in on something. The color purple does no good for me and what I am thinking of, so I'm going to let you guys pick. If you will, head on down to the comments and put in a color of your choosing. It can be your favorite color. Just pick a color. And whichever color I see the most of, that's going to be the one that I choose for this little something I want to film for you guys. Okay, let's talk about what I read last week. The first book that I completed is Wisp of Gold by Leah Lindemann. I loved this book. I didn't realize how much I missed this kind of story until I started reading it. Literally in chapter 1, something that happened between two of the characters just transported me back in time to when I was a little girl, and I had this series that my mother used to buy for me called the Mandy series. And it was a Christian fiction series about a little girl. I believe Mandy was 9 when it started. And it was a little mystery series. She was solving mysteries. It was super cute, but it just instantly caused me to form a connection with this book. I was in love with the story immediately. It's been too long since I've read something like this. How to describe it? It takes place in the late 1800s. The gold rush has started sweeping through. Our main character is Rose. She's 18. She has completed finishing school and is going home. The only problem is she doesn't really know where home is. Her father has moved in the time that she's been in school, and he sends this guy she doesn't know to get her and bring her home. The gentleman her father sent, his name is Joe. Rose and Joe travel to where her father lives, and he lives in a mile house, which these houses are set up ever so many miles apart so that men traveling can have a place to stop and stay. And they get there, they go in, and Rose discovers her father's body. Not only is he dead, he's been murdered. To make matters even more complicated, Rose's father is rumored to have found this huge gold vein, and he hasn't shared that information with anybody. No one knows if it's true. No one has seen it. He hasn't minded apparently, but that doesn't stop someone from deciding to blackmail Rose into finding this gold. Apparently other people have tried and they can't figure it out, so they figure his daughter can. The only problem is they don't seem to understand that Rose and her dad didn't really communicate. Rose has got a lot on her plate. Her father is dead. This finishing school certainly didn't train her on how to run a mile house, which is what she's decided to do. And now the few people in her life that she does love are being threatened by this blackmailer who wants her to find the treasure. Now, if that isn't enough for this 18-year-old to deal with, let's go ahead and enter in Raging Hormones. As you might have guessed, there is a bit of a love story as well as the found family trope, which is my favorite. You know, I was telling you guys recently when I read Deathbed and Breakfast by Bart J. Gilbertson, that had kind of reawakened my love for mystery, and this just perpetuated that because I really enjoyed this and I did not figure out who was behind everything. Not once. And there was actually a whole lot of things that happened that I didn't see coming. So I really enjoyed it. And in the author's note at the back of the book, there's going to be another book with some of these characters. I am very much looking forward to reading that. Next up, I completed Winds of Strife for the second time. This book, I am going on Goodreads when I get done filming and changing my star rating from a 4 to a 5. This was so much better the second time. The first time I read it, I was completely caught up with the magic system. I was fascinated by it. The second time, I was still very interested in the magic system, but the characters just took center stage. I did listen to the audiobook along with reading the physical book, and that totally changed my experience. Amanda Lee Cobb is an amazing narrator. That audiobook, or maybe it was just the second time reading it and picking up all that I missed the first time, took this from a 4-star to a 5-star for me. And then the final book that I completed this week that I actually finished right before filming is A Plague of Giants by Kevin Hearn. And before I go any further, I need to stop and thank my patron Jennifer for choosing this book for me to read this month, because it is amazing. I've not read anything by Kevin Hearn prior to this book, but I wanted to. I have one of his Iron Druid books here to read, but this, oh my gosh, this book was amazing. I didn't know how I was gonna like it at first until I got adjusted to the storytelling part of it, but wow, I mean, my heart was pounding like the whole last 50 pages. And it was so good. I was so excited about what was happening that my eyes were just jumping all over the page. I was constantly just having to stop and calm myself down because my eyes just kept jumping all over, just trying to pick out words and clues of what was about to happen. I love this book. I am going to get the second one next week. I don't know if I'll get to read it in August because of what I already have lined up, but I will most definitely read the second one in September because I just have to know. I have to know what is about to happen next in this saga. It's amazing, guys. I highly recommend A Plague of Giants. I know my friend Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads showed that he had a copy of this in his most recent book haul. So Andrew, read this book and come talk to me about it. Alright, and so that wraps up everything that I read. Let's talk about what I'm still reading. I did start Weavers by my friend John Walker. Weavers is a YA fantasy, and I am in love. This is a delightful read. I smile when I'm reading it because I love the dynamic between the characters. It feels so authentic. It sounds just like conversations and friendly teasing that I had with my friends at this age, except we have magic involved and mystery. I'm almost halfway through it. I fully intend to possibly have it finished by tomorrow. It's a really fast read. It's just, once you start reading it, you fly through it. And like I mentioned earlier, it's YA, but it's a fun educational sort of YA. That's probably a terrible way to describe it because that probably makes you think it's boring, but it's not. It's a group of friends and their families, their love for their world and nature, and it's just about discovering that connection and the full extent of it and what it means. I'm in love with it. I love the way it's written. It is so easy to read and digest. And I just smile the whole time because I just can't get enough of how these characters interact with each other. That's the only book that I'm still currently reading because I finished Winds of Strife last night and I finished A Plague of Giants this morning. So I will be starting another book today, and that book will be The Grey Bastards by Jonathan French. The third book in this series comes out in September, so I wanted to get started on it this month and read the first one this month, the next one next month, and be ready for the third one in September. This series about half human, half orcs came highly recommended to me by my friend Ev, and I am excited to dig into this today. So as soon as I get done filming this, I'm going to be popping this sucker open and seeing what all of the fuss is about. I did pile a lot of books on my TBR this month because of the indie Accords. I just had so many independent and self-published books here and on my Kindle that I really wanted to get squeezed in. There were about 3 or 4 that I didn't get to, and then I added about 6 more to my Kindle over the last week or so, but I will be prioritizing and getting to those in the coming months. So guys, you will definitely be seeing and hearing more from me on indie works. As usual, you guys know I have a huge love for our Indian self-pub authors. That is going to do it for my week of reading. That's everything I've read, what I'm still reading, and what I plan to get to next. You know, what about you guys? Have you read anything interesting or new this week? A new author? Tried a new genre? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, while you're in those comments, don't forget, give me a color for something I have coming up soon. I hope you all are excited for the weekend. I hope you have something really fun planned, even if it is just curl up with a book. I hope your day has gotten off to a great start. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you soon.